Good morning. You're very welcome and thank you for joining me this morning. I hope you're doing okay. So I'm going to get you to lie down to begin this morning. We're going to do a bit of work with our breath. Our breath is one of the quickest ways of beginning to create a state change. So take your time, come onto your back, keep the knees bent. If that's comfortable, if you'd prefer to stretch them out, feel free to do that. And then as you get comfortable on your back, close your eyes and simply begin to notice your breath. Just begin to tune into your breath. Notice your inhalations and your exhalations. And then for a moment as we begin, and we do this at the beginning of every practice, just notice how you're doing. What comes up for you? And maybe nothing comes up and it's fine, or maybe something is there moving around. Be it a comfortable feeling or an uncomfortable feeling. Maybe there's something going on in your life at the moment. And so much of what we work with through our practice is our relationship to the world around us and indeed to the world within us. That thoughts and feelings and sensations are moving through us, and all of us will have a kind of a nervous system patterning around how we relate to those or react to those experiences, those feelings. And one of the things that we're doing through our practice is we're playing with this capacity to begin to create space so that we can meet what we need to meet in any given moment, and something in us stays open. Something in us, and this is of course particularly when the moment is difficult or is challenging, that so often when things are challenged, there is a contraction that happens within us, a shutting down, a closing off, a protecting. That our connection, in terms of how we feel our connection to life, is diminished or closed. And a load of people will walk around like that. That will be the normal state, that the sympathetic nervous system, the part of us that is protecting, will be so dominant that it closes us to part of ourselves. So our practice is interested in how we begin to either reopen or support that part of us that is open. So we're going to start with 10 deep breaths. We're going to breathe either through your nose or your mouth, whichever feels the most comfortable. It's going to be deep inhalations, easy exhalations. Deep inhalations, easy exhalations. Now the inhalation right down in the belly, all the way up to the top of the chest, and then a comfortable, easy exhale. 10 deep breaths. Go for it. Stay with it, keep going. And then at the end of that 10th exhalation, just come back to the natural breath and just notice. Just notice the feeling, the sensation in the body. Maybe you feel a little lightheaded or a little spacey. Maybe there's a sense of pins and needles or energy moving through the body. Just noticing how you're doing. Yeah, just observing. Like we have this capacity of experiencing life in this huge spectrum of experience. And what we tend to do, and again, this is how the sympathetic nervous system works, is it'll lock us into this small little area because on some level it thinks that's the safest thing to do. So, you know, and of course the logic behind it is, well, if I'm in here, then I'm not going to feel this extreme of discomfort or suffering, but actually that doesn't happen. It just really stops us experiencing life more richly. It stops us growing more so that we begin to live in more evolving ways. You know, this is the journey that each of us is on, that we're here to grow, to learn, to experience, and that our connection to life becomes a richer experience for us. So the second round, now again, we're going to do 10 breaths. This time, at the end of your 10th exhalation, I want you to pause without inhaling, only for as long as it feels comfortable. So the moment you feel like you want to take that deep breath, you just come back. You come back to your natural breath, okay? 10 deep breaths. Keep going, stay with it. You've got it, deepest breaths. And again, at the end of that 10th exhalation, just pause and really notice if there's anywhere that's tense in your body. See, can you relax? Can you soften the body? Can you relax the body? And you know when you need to breathe, you do it. Perfect. Great. And again, just as you come back to the breath, you're just noticing. And we think of this line, this Neil Young line. And obviously I had one interpretation of it as I was growing up in my teens, but there's a lot to learn from wasting time. And it's not that time is being wasted, but quite often in the West, we think we need to be doing, and that validates us and that brings meaning to our lives. And all of that is true. And yet in the same moment, we need to be giving the same quality of importance to those moments of stillness, to be feeding those moments of stillness. Because inherent in those moments of stillness is this idea that we don't need to do anything to be complete or to be full or to be worthwhile or to be worthy. That's a really important thing for us to embed in our system, or probably more appropriately to say, to awaken to in our system, as that is the deeper truth. In the West, we've gotten overly concerned with getting to point B in order to get paid. Okay. We're going to do one more round. This time we're going to do 20 breaths. Now, if you feel like that's too much for you, please feel free to do just the 10 or whatever feels okay. If you find you want to go a little further, your call. Okay? Same thing at the end of the exhalation. Last exhale, you pause without inhaling. This time, when you feel the urge to breathe, I want you to take a deep breath and hold that breath for 10 seconds. Okay? Let's go. Begin. Deep inhalation, easy exhale. Deep inhale, easy exhale. Deep inhale, easy exhale. That's it. Keep going. Deep inhalation, easy exhale. Stay with your breath. Those strong sensations will come up as you're breathing. Stay with your breath. If you feel like you need to stop, feel free to do that. Lightheadedness is part of it. You're changing the relationship or the balance between CO2 and oxygen in the body. Stay with it. Stay with it. Keep going. You got this. That's it. Nice work. Keep going. That's it. That's it. So when you reach the end of that 20th exhalation or that last exhalation, you pause and see, can you rest in that space? Can you let the body relax? You know you're going to be able to breathe when you need to. Let the body drop a little. And then when you need to breathe, you take that deep breath, hold it for 10 seconds. Wherever you are, take your time. Great. Okay. And then again, as you come to the end, you just notice. See, can you let yourself just notice what you're feeling, what you're hearing? Notice the internal space, what's moving through you. Obviously, you'll have a sense of the space around you as well. The idea of becoming spacious awareness. Becoming spacious awareness. And this idea of, what we're doing through our practice is we're supporting our capacity to, in a sense, to say yes to life. Even in those moments in which part of us wants to say no and close down. And it's not that we don't turn away from things at times, and that's perfectly appropriate and we protect ourselves. But it's this idea that we're softening the reactive patterning that keeps us stuck and trapped. And John O'Donoghue is a little paragraph around this that I'm going to read out. The pain of exposure. Vulnerability is an infinitely precious thing. There is nothing as lonely as that which has become hardened. When your heart hardens, your life has become numb. Yeats says, "Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart." Though vulnerability leaves one open to pain, one should somehow still be ultimately glad of vulnerability. Part of our origin lies in the Darwinian kingdom of species competition and adaptation. Some instinct within us knows that we must be careful about exposure. We cannot let the heart be too easily seen or it will get hurt. Everyone gets hurt. The extreme response to hurt is to close the heart. Yet to make ourselves invulnerable is to lose something very precious. You put yourself outside the arena of risk where possibility and growth are alive. Vulnerability risks hurt, disappointment, and failure. Yet it remains a vital opening to change and to truth. We should not see our vulnerability as something that we need to hide or get over. The slow and difficult work of living out of your vulnerability holds you in the flow of life. It is great when we can learn to behold our vulnerability as one of the most important gates of blessing into the inner world. It is in giving love that we are most human and most vulnerable. So we're going to come to our hands and knees. We're going to come onto all fours and we're going to move our body in ways that support this opening. That even how we hold our body, how we align our body, supports its capacity to rewire itself, to rewire the nervous system. So when we're aligned in particular ways, particular chemicals are produced. There's a particular movement of energy and information through our systems. And all the time we're interested through our practice in coming into optimum alignment or coming into a place of greater balance, that our systems are designed to work with the sympathetic nervous system firing efficiently. And that's the part of our nervous system that is all about creativity and vitality and openness and shifting and changing. And this is the part that we struggle to be in a lot of the time because the world is a difficult place to be. And we've grown up in societies that have been dominantly run by the sympathetic nervous system, by the protective part. So in terms of our evolution, the nervous system hasn't really evolved from when we were running away from dinosaurs, when there were tigers around the corner, every corner. So we're interested in beginning to play with how do we open things up? How do we create more fluidness in our system? How do we begin to drop some of the holding patterns and explore what is it like to move into that freer aspect of our nature? Okay, so we're going to come on to hands and knees. And on your hands and knees, I want you to close your eyes. And as you close the eyes, let the hips begin to sway gently from side to side. Very simple. There's no forcing, there's no straining. Just sway the hips. Maybe be a little creative in the movement of the pelvis. Something that feels simple and feels fluid. Part of what you might experience is a sense of that fluidness, that there will be some there, but you might also notice some kinks or some tightness. And of course, that's perfectly normal and natural for us in these human forms. Now, as you continue to let the hips move like this, I want you to begin to breathe into the rib cage. Specifically, if you feel tightness in the back of the ribs, I want you to breathe into that space. And if there's no real sense of tightness, I want you to breathe into the sides of the ribs. Slow, deep breaths. And I want you to notice at the point at which your breath is at its fullest, can you feel that sense of buoyancy through that part of the body? So when we're more aligned to the parasympathetic nervous system, our body actually expands. Tissue expands, bones separate, blood flows, particular chemicals are produced. We become more vital, more radiant. So in one sense, as you take these deep breaths, you're kind of faking it to make it. At the same time as you take those deep breaths, can you begin to bring a little fluidness through the shoulder movement? Maybe a sense of kind of shrugging one shoulder a little and then the other shoulder a little. All of it just a very simple way of beginning to tune into our bodies, to feel our bodies, to notice our bodies. Deep inhalations, long, steady, simple, fluid breath. As you continue to move in whatever way the body invites you to in this general form, spread the fingers, and can you begin to kind of grip through the fingers, so the tips of your fingers and your thumbs, but also the base of the fingers begin to do a little bit more work. Now, you'll notice things engaged that weren't engaged. You'll notice that they'll get tired quickly. These are employing parts that don't always do their job for us. But this is part of the process of coming into a body that is more integrated. We need to invite the forgotten places into the experience. In a sense, to move our attention, our awareness into the disenfranchised places. All of us will carry them. This is what the sympathetic nervous system does, is it kind of cuts off parts of our body. It over-relies in particular areas. And it wears us down. It requires so much unconscious effort to maintain that closed downness, because we're not designed to do that. We're designed to protect and then to come out of protection. So breathing, feeling, noticing, moving. Notice the breath. And then we're going to slowly come back to center and come all the way down onto our forearms, interlacing the fingers. We're going to keep the elbows underneath the shoulders. But what I'd like you to do is just slide the knees back an inch or two, just an inch or two. And then same thing you were doing with the hips, a little sway. And I want to encourage you to let the belly and the lower back relax. Let them soften. And as you let them soften, again, if you notice tightness in the back, you're breathing into that space. Breathing into the sides of the ribs. And then could you intentionally press the forearms down? And I want you to feel the neck, not so much the head, but the neck lifting as you press the forearms down. So the neck lifting as a result of pushing down through the forearms. Now you're still taking those expanding, broadening, deep breaths. And even with this work, can you bring a little of that fluid movement through the shoulders? And this is a tricky relationship to work with, because when we engage muscles, our tendency, our habit, our pattern, what we've learned is to get tight, to get small, to get protective, because it's uncomfortable to engage. It requires effort. So I'm encouraging you to begin to engage, but to stay fluid. As you do everything that you're doing without moving, could you push the two knees away from each other? As you continue to do everything that you're doing without moving, could you pull the elbows toward each other? Can you stay fluid? A little bit more challenging to maintain that simple movement as you're working these areas. Stay with it. Don't let the head drop or the neck drop. Just a few more breaths here. Perfect. And then release the hands, come back up onto the hands. Okay. So here, on the hands and knees, lower back and belly soften. Almost a sense of the bum sticks up a little. So you've got that arch in the lower back. Without moving, again, can you press the knees away from each other? Can you fill the ribs up like a balloon? And then we're going to walk the arms toward the left. Now, we're arcing to the left. The moment you feel a stretch or a tightness on the right side, I want you to pause. So it might not be as far as you feel you can go. I want the first inkling of holding. The first inkling of tightness. You're still pressing the knees apart. That'll help stabilize the pelvis. Breathe into what you're meeting. Stay with the breath. Enjoy what you're meeting. Maybe that right shoulder could lengthen a little bit further. Breathe 3. Breathe 2. And then 1. Okay, so we're going to come all the way back. As you come back, you sway the hips, you shrug the shoulders, take a deep breath, you lift the neck. It's like this idea of pressing into the back of the body or inhabiting the back of the body, something that we do not do in our day-to-day lives, most of us. Press the knees away from each other, fill the ribs up, walk the arms in the other direction. Now, wherever the tightness is, so maybe it's on the left side, but maybe the right waist is overly tight. And we'll all have these little areas in the body that are used to straight away contracting. That's their big habit. So wherever you notice it, and this is the beautiful thing about the practice, is it's feel into your body. Where do you notice it? Can you breathe into that space? Can you imagine you're breathing into that space? And then can you be patient? Just give it some time. Breathe for 3. Breathe for 2. And then for 1. Okay, so come all the way back. Okay, so again, we're on hands and knees. Very simple. Lower back relaxed. Deep expanding breath into the ribs. Now, when you breathe into the ribs, literally the vertebrae separate, the discs realign. Then any part of the spine that you notice tightness in, it's telling you that that area, those muscles in that area, that their dominant program is one of contraction. And your job is to begin to teach those areas about expansion, about freedom. Fill the ribs, press the knees apart, notice the widening action in the pelvis. And then here, almost the idea of could you stick your bum up a little? So that'll deepen the arch in the lower back. And then you need to breathe into the ribs to balance that. Okay, very simple. We're going to tilt the right knee out to the right. Now, I'm encouraging you not to bend an elbow, not to drop your head. Keep pressing the earth away, pushing it away, and then begin to make circles with that knee that you've lifted. And I want you to feel the movement in your hip. Feel the movement in your hip. Let the attention get right into the hip. So you've still got the arch in the lower back. The belly is relaxed. The belly is not doing the movement. Some of you might notice the belly tightens up. Let it relax. Now move that knee in the other direction. In the other direction. Perfect. Okay. Keep the knee pointing to the side. Extend the foot over to the right. Bring the big toe down. So that right big toe is to the right of your hip. Okay. The toes point forward in this direction. Big toe first, then the little toe. Now that's when it gets a little challenging, the outer shin, the outer ankle. Okay, now look at that leg. Bend that right knee forward and stick your butt out. Stick your bum back a little. Try to stick it back. So you're setting your thigh bone back in your hip socket. Fill the ribs like a balloon. Shrug a little through the shoulders to open up that space. Walk the arms toward that extended leg. And again, where is the tension? Can you breathe into it? Not to the point where you're struggling, but just enough that you feel or connect to some of those pockets of holding in the body. Take your time and breathe. Stay with it. That's it. Stay with it. That's it. Breathe 5. Breathe 4. 3, 2, and then for 1, bring it all the way back, all the way back. And as you come back, little sway in the hips, little shrug through the shoulders, little movement through the neck and the head. Just breathe and feel the body. So you're giving the body what it really wants to experience. Okay. Now again, remember the weight and the work through the hands. The fingers are spread, the creases of the wrist are in line with the front of the mat, the hands are shoulder distance, there's space between the fingers, there's a gripping action through the fingers, and there's an anchoring through the base of the fingers. So really try to bring more weight and work into those spaces, particularly the base of your index finger. It's not going to want to stay down. The only way that happens is through repetition. You keep coming back to it. And now as you do that, the way the hand supports you is going to feed into supporting the wrist joint, the elbow joint, and ultimately the shoulder joint. So work the hands as best you can. If you need a break, you take a break. Open the left knee to the left. Don't bend an arm or an elbow. Begin to make circles. Again, you're really feeling into the pelvis. These are the parts that get forgotten, that get stuck. Move that knee in the other direction. Move that knee in the other direction. Okay, pause, extend the foot out, bring the big toe down, bring the little toe down. Okay, and just take a moment. So even the work through the outer foot, outer ankle, outer shin, just notice that, breathe, take your time. That's a big stretch in itself. And then we see, and this is one movement. As the knee goes forward, the hip goes back. One movement, like a seesaw, one movement. So you're sticking the bum out, you're trying to maintain that arching of the lower back. You're trying to maintain it, if not deepen it. So that arch in the lumbar, and then breathe into the ribs, a little shrug through the shoulders, and then we're going to walk the arms in the direction of the extended leg. And again, you might go over an inch or 2 inches or a foot, it doesn't matter. The moment you meet something that feels tight or contracted or stretching, that's the gold. You simply breathe into that space. Stay with it. Stay with it. That's it. That's it. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then for 1. Come all the way back. Perfect. Come all the way back. So we're back on the hands and knees. Okay. We're going to come down onto the forearms one more time. When you get down to the forearms, again, we're keeping the elbows underneath the shoulders. We're going to slide the knees back an inch or 2. We're going to let the lower back relax. We're going to press the forearms down, lifting the neck. Notice as the neck lifts, what happens to the back, what happens to the shoulder blades. So we're interested in the fullness of the back body. So a lot of our work in creating balance or a sense of integration of the body, balanced integration, is really teaching the back how to do its job. And the back, you know, think of this idea of the backbone. What does that mean? The backbone. Something when it's the backbone. It's supportive. It holds a certain power, a certain stability. That's what we're retraining the spine and the back to begin to do for us. Now, I want you to bring the 2 legs over to the right so you can lower your hips over to the left. Let the hips lay down. Now, as you do that, notice the weight in the left arm, and I want you to remedy that by pushing the left elbow arm down into the floor. So it lifts the shoulders up, the gaze is slightly forward along the floor, and this might be enough for you. Notice the tightness in the body, the twist in the body. Breathe into what you're meeting. If you feel like you can go a little deeper, we're not going to move, but I want you to pull your elbows backwards towards your legs. And that'll intensify the place you're already connected to. And then breathe into it. Long, deep breaths into that space. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then as you soften, we're going to come back on the knees, back on the knees, back to the middle, little sway in the hips, let the lower back relax, fill the ribs up again. Don't drop the head. Okay, we'll bring the legs left and we'll lower the hips to the right. Two sides may well feel different. You just pause for a moment. Legs are heavy, hips are heavy. And then the weight in the right arm, you've got to press down to the right elbow. So you're rooting down to create more rising in the upper body. Breathe. Again, without moving. If you wish, you pull the elbows backwards, the forearms backwards. Almost a sense of the belly stretching forward, the sternum stretching forward. Decompressing the tissue of the body. Breathe into what you're meeting. For 3. For 2. For 1. And then we get to soften. And again, we're going to come back to the knees. Okay, we're going to come up onto the hands. And then from here, let's take left leg forward. Okay. Left foot forward. Now, if you want, feel free to use a book or something to stabilize you. If you feel like a bit wobbly here, we're going to take that left foot a little further forward so we're up on the heel of the left foot. Okay? We're going to keep a bend. Even those of you who find it easy to stretch the leg straight, I encourage you initially to keep a bend in the knee. And it helps the tissue around the joint engage more effectively. When we straighten, the habit is, and you know, this obviously happens a lot when we're standing, is the tissue at the back of the knee will tend to be weaker. So the bend in the knee helps the tissue engage more easily. So if you think about it in terms of the arm, if we wanted to engage the bicep, we bend the elbow and it's much easier for the muscle to do its job. Okay. From here, as best you can, hands to the base of the glutes. Notice what isn't working. Base of the buttocks now, not the middle or the top. And then can you sit the bum back a little? Sit it back till you feel the glutes on the two sides are working maybe even evenly or a little bit more, particularly on the side that's not working, which will be the back leg side. So you go to whatever feels available. That'll begin to engage the back of the front leg a little bit more. The front toes curl toward the floor, just gently. And without moving, you're pushing your front heel down, without moving, and you're dragging it backwards. You're dragging it back. So you're meeting the tension through the back of the front leg, okay? We're going to breathe as if we could breathe into it, as if we could breathe into it. Stay with it. Hips stay back a little. Bum stays back a little. Gazes forward. Breathe for 5. Breathe for 4. For 3. For 2. For 1. Very simple, we just step the front leg back. Okay. Second side. We position the leg, front leg, right leg forward. Hands to the base of the glutes, so the back glute will be what we're looking for more action in. We sit the bum back a little. That might bring us to the full engagement of the front leg. Front toes curl toward the floor. This is the commitment to the earth. This is a way of activating the parasympathetic nervous system, of overriding the protection, which will lift the toes toward us. And the same deal as you push the heel down, you pull the foot back without moving it. So whatever you're able to sustain, again, not so much that you're going to burn out, but enough that you're with the discomfort and you're also settled with the breath. There's two kind of sides of that one coin. One part is uncomfortable, another part is okay. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to release that side and we're going back to the first side. Same position. Keep the heel on the floor. Curl the toes down. Hands to the base of the glutes, or one hand if only one hand is free. You stick the butt out. This is a great repositioning in the pelvis to get used to. We don't do it in the West very often, but it's getting those thigh bones and it's taking them back in the acetabulum, in the hip socket. That creates an engagement of the glutes. It's like an electrical charge happens when those bones begin to connect a little bit more deeply. Curl the toes to the floor, press the heel down without moving, drag the front foot back. Now, this time a little further, we've got the right leg forward, the left leg forward, left hand on the back of the leg. Yes, you're holding the hamstring. I want you to find the belly of the hamstring. I want you to grip it. So the fingers kind of grip over the inside of it. Now, two things with the hand. You're pushing the muscle up into the bone and you're pulling the left hamstring to the left, like you're twisting it to the left. You've got the same work going on with the leg. And stay with it. Breathe 5. Breathe 4. 3. Gazes forward. 2. 1. And then we get to release. So your hamstring is 3 strands, and when you pull them diagonally, it begins to unravel them. So it's a great way of opening up the hamstrings. Okay, second side. Take your time, come back to your breath. There's no rush. Have a little wobble. Hands to the base of the glutes. Again, we're sticking the bum back a little. Now you might notice a tightening in the back. Feel free to take your time and breathe into that space. Work the toes of the front foot. We call it dig and drag. The heel digs down, you pull the foot back, and then sustaining the engagement. Not that it's going to burn you out, but enough that you're out of the comfort zone. Let's put it that way. And then you feel and find the belly of the hamstring. You grip, you press the muscle up onto the bone, and then you're pulling the right hamstring to the right. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll release that. Perfect. Okay, great. So let's take the left foot forward again. Left foot, I'll mirror you guys. Left foot forward. This time right angle, so the ankle's under the knee, back knee under the hip. I'm going to keep the hand, the left hand on the knee. I'm going to bring the right hand down to the floor. Now, before I drop all my weight, I kind of dump into it. I want to go lightly. So I'm stretching the hand over toward the right. I spread the fingers and I grip with the tips of the fingers. Then I bring the base of the fingers down. Then I bring the wrist down. I turn the crease of the elbow to line up with the thumb. That aligns the shoulder. Then I get to bring the weight of my body over. Take the left hand to the ribs. Thumb at the back, fingers at the front. You're on the ribs, not the waist. And then can you take some deep breaths and feel the movement of the ribs through the front, through the side, and through the back. So the movement is even on all sides. And as you breathe, push the bottom hand down and let the ribs you're holding begin to open a little bit more. Just explore what's available. Breathe, breathe. Let the head move a little so you're not twisting it or dropping it. Stay with the breath. Enjoy the breath. Breathe. If you notice tightness on the lower side, you get to breathe into that. Wherever it is for you, wherever it shows up is where your attention is needed. 3, and 2, and 1, and then we'll release that and we'll change to the second side. Okay, take your time. Hand on knee, hand to floor. Take your time. Little shrug through the shoulders. You know, quite often when we're going into places that are unknown or uncomfortable, the sympathetic nervous system will kick in before anything else, and it'll tighten everything. So if you can bring the intention of looking for space, and you bring it through a little sway or shrug, line up the hand, engage the fingers, base of the fingers, crease of the elbow lines up with the thumb. We'll take the hand to the ribs. We'll breathe, and then we're pressing the bottom hand down to open up the top side a little bit more. And you just go to what feels available. And you're breathing with it. And breathe 3. Enjoy it. Breathe 2. Breathe 1. Nice work. And then we come all the way back up. Beautiful. Okay, let's go back to the first side again. Okay, this time, what we did the first position when we had our legs in this kind of a position, hands to the base of the glutes. Notice the difference in the two sides. So the front leg, the thigh bone automatically sits back in the hip, and you feel the expansion of that glute. So that glute is switched on and working. The back leg side, it'll tend not to be doing that. So all the time, we're looking for a balanced action. And the glutes are very much foundational muscles. They're really the engine of the body. So if one side isn't working, it's going to mean the spine will be slightly off, parts will be overworking and underworking. So we want to remedy that. Hold the base of the glutes, begin to sit the bum back. Notice the back leg will have to begin to engage more as you do that. The back foot will engage more. So you feel to the point, you take the bum back to the point where you feel, okay, I can feel the muscles engaging, it's expanding. Now the game is to try to keep it back because it'll keep wanting to go back to where it's used to being. You just keep a sense of it. One hand on the knee. Remember the way in which we anchor the bottom hand. We slide it over, we engage to the fingers, crease of the elbow, lines up with the thumb. Hand to the ribs, bum is still back. Little shrugging through the shoulders, just exploring what's available this evening or this morning in the body. And breathe and breathe and breathe. Now, can we take the free hand to the crown of the head? So the fingers are just over the back of the skull, the elbows almost in front of your nose, and then a little shrug through the shoulders so we're not locked. Press the head back into the hand, and that left elbow is tilting toward the right side of the space. You're going just to what feels available. And then is it possible to turn the front of your body a little bit toward the sky? Just see what's available. Bum stays back, back foot pressing down, front toes working, elbow stretching, lengthening, opening. Breathe 3. Breathe 2. And then we begin to release. Now, as we release, 2 legs go back. We're up on the knees. Let's close the eyes. Notice the breath. Just tune into it. Be still. And then if you were to take a few deeper breaths, can you notice the difference on the 2 sides? Even after that one more stretch on that left side. You notice as you breathe how the left side is just lighter. So this is what we're designed to be able to experience more of. And frankly, we just don't. We get used to being in that sympathetic, protected tightness, and we end up calling it normal because we just get used to it. We get on with it. But then information comes our way and it shows us that there's another way of experiencing or inhabiting our bodies. And it can include a greater sense of freedom. So let's take the right foot forward. Hands to the base of the glutes. Notice the difference. Press the base of the bum back. Anchor the glutes into the hands. Back leg working a little bit more balanced. So the front of the thigh, back of the thigh, glute, all of this beginning to work as a team. One hand on the knee. We bring the left to the floor, spread the fingers, anchor. Remember the alignment of the crease of the elbow with the thumb. Little shrugging through the shoulders. So we're just trying to go into it as easily. It's almost like we're trying to trick the body. That the inclination of the nervous system will be to tighten us. And we're kind of saying, no, it's fine. It's grand, it's fine, it's fine. Just move, feel, you got it. Hand to the ribs. Open up the top ribs. Head neutral as best you can to begin with. Some of you will notice your head's already twisted further than everything else. Just bring it back to neutral. Now hand to the crown of the skull. Spread the fingers. Think of the center of your palm at the crown of the skull. Center of the palm at the crown of the skull. Head neutral. Press the head back into the fingers. Begin to let the elbow tilt toward the left side of the room. Breathe into the ribs. That's it. Whatever's available. Maybe you can turn a little bit toward the sky. Open up the front body, open up the front of the throat, the belly, the chest. Breathe 5. Where's the tightness? Breathe into it. Breathe 4. Breathe 3. And 2. And 1. And then we get to release. Beautiful. Okay, great. So one leg back. Let's go first side one more time. We're doing well. We'll just take it a little bit further. Okay. So again, if you want to use the hands at the glutes, it's a great way of, the reason we bring the hands particularly toward the back of the body is because we're not used to feeling the back of the body. Most of us only tune into the back of our body when it's in pain. We have a very limited relationship. So the hands are such a sensitive part of us. When you get them onto the back, suddenly you know where those places are. You can feel them, and then you can refine the way in which you move into those places. So sit the base of the glutes back. Obviously, as the bum goes back, the front body comes forward a little, hand on the knee, hand on the floor. Get the whole of the hand working. Elbow in line with thumb, opening the inner deltoid, the front of the shoulder. Press the earth away, hand to the ribs. And breathe. Like keep it a little fluid if you can. Take the hand to the crown of the skull again. Press the head back, tilt the elbow toward the right. And breathe. Maybe you get to turn a little bit toward the sky. Now, if you want to, tuck the back toes under and lift the back knee and see, can you go a little further? And I want you to see, can you pulse if you've lifted the knee? Bend the knee deep, sit the bum back. And as you stretch the leg straighter, tilt the elbow over to the right. Bum goes back. Breathe 5. Wherever you are, maybe the knee's not lifted. Breathe 4. And 3. And 2. One more. Nice work. Okay, we bring the 2 legs back. We'll come up onto the knees one more time. Close the eyes and pause. Just notice the breath. Could you again breathe a little bit more deeply? Tune into the sides. Notice the difference in the 2 sides. So in terms of, what we were speaking about earlier and that little piece by John O'Donoghue, this idea of how do we stay open? And of course, this area of the ribs, the intercostals, we refer to it sometimes as the heart center, the heart space. And this is the part of us that really experiences life. And this is the part that we either open or we close. When we feel safe, this place gets to open up. We get to experience, life moving through us. We feel more connected, more vital, more vibrant. And equally, when something happens that's bad or uncomfortable, we'll close this space and protect. So most of us, in maintaining a kind of sympathetic, unconscious protective mechanism in the nervous system, will maintain a lot of unconscious contraction in the space. And it'll affect the lungs and their vitality, the diaphragm, the solar plexus, the intestines. All of that space gets restricted and contracted. And we get into this default of it just becomes a normal thing for us. And we don't realize, actually, there's all this space I can begin to access. So as we do this work and we're opening the space up, we're helping the parasympathetic begin to really activate, to become normalized, this more open aspect. So we step the right foot forward, hand on the knee. Remember the positioning of the glutes. You can take the hands there if you wish. The bum goes back. And then we bring one hand down again. Don't dump the weight straight into the hand. Get the fingers broad and engaging, and the thumb and the base of the fingers. Line up the elbow with the thumb, hand to the ribs. Deep breath, a little shrugging, a little fluidness in your practice. It's a great thing to keep in your practice, to keep a fluidness. Push the earth away. Open up the top ribs. We'll get to go further every time as the bum's still sticking out a little. Hand to the skull. Head presses back, elbows now tilting over toward the left side of the room, opening everything up. Maybe we can turn a little to the sky. Notice if the head has gone off on its own. Keep it in line with the heart. Big lesson teaching the head to line to the heart. If you want to, you lift the back knee, you tuck the back toes, and then you get to pulse. Bum goes back, elbow tilts to the left, bum back, elbow tilts. Breathe 5 and 4. 3 and 2, one more. Beautiful work. And then we release and we release. And again, we'll just pause on the knees. We'll close the eyes. Let the belly relax. Notice the breath. Notice the inhalation and exhalation. Perfect. Okay, from here, let's open the eyes. Hands to the base of the glutes one more time. Okay? So holding the base of the glutes, can you sit the bum back and slowly let the upper body lean forward at the same pace? So again, it feels like one movement. And the hips go back just far enough that you can then bring the hands down to the floor and walk them forward, and we're back on the hands and knees. So quite often when we're moving, we tend to overwork, over-tighten the abdomen, and it causes all kinds of issues in the body. And it's a way in which the body then maintains the dominance of the sympathetic nervous system, of the protected body. So a lot of our work is lengthening, expanding, and opening these spaces. Teaching muscle how to expand and engage, not to just contract and engage. Yeah, we want our bodies to be expansive, to be free, to be mobile. So like we did the first time on the hands and knees, breathe, move, feel, notice the difference after the work we've done. Like ultimately we're moving in the direction of being able to really enjoy being in our bodies, no matter what age we are or what's going on with our bodies. And we'll all have, you know, different limitations, different issues. We're all kind of working through what we're working through with our bodies. Our bodies hold so much of what we bring into the world, what we've been through in our lives. And yet all of us have an opportunity to really move in the direction of enjoying, of moving into greater freedom, greater ease in our body. And this is such a beautiful thing to get used to practicing. So you just move and feel and sway, breathe. Perfect. And then very simple here, on the hands and knees, like we did before, just bring the two legs over to the left, lower the hips down to the right, come onto the right shoulder, come all the way over onto your back. Perfect. Now, on your back, 2 feet on the floor, feet are more or less hip distance apart. Could we take the arms up and just wrap the arms around the ribs? Try to get the hands on the ribs and those deep breaths. Breathe into the hands. Just 3 or 4 of these deeper breaths again. You notice the way the breath is such an amazing process of opening us up. A couple more of these deeper breaths. Nice work. And then just release the arms. Now bring the attention to the feet, spread the toes, grip with the toes without moving your feet, pull them towards you, and notice the pelvis reposition itself. Notice it moving, how the base of the buttocks automatically begins to press down and the sacrum or the lower back area begins to tilt up. So that's a very particular alignment that we worked with already. Can you sustain that? So you're actively pressing the bum down, you're maintaining the arch in the lower back, and I want you to take the 2 arms straight up toward the ceiling. Have the hands in kind of like a cup shape, so the tips of the fingers and the thumbs are on the ceiling. Now, breathe into the ribs as if you were trying to broaden the shoulder blades. Breathe, press the earth away, press the earth away. So stretch up through the fingers. That's it. Breathe, press the bum down. Can you press the back of the head into the floor and at the same time slowly tilt your chin away from your chest? And you press down through the head so much that the shoulders either get lighter or completely lift off the floor. You're pressing the bum down, maintain the engagement through the feet. Breathe 3 and 2 and 1, and then let it all release. All release, let the arms release. Slide the right leg out along the floor. Now, as you're transitioning, I want you to see, can you keep the arch in the lower back, little arch in the lower back. Hold the back of the right leg, take the right foot up toward the sky. You can see the right foot, move it around, move it slowly. Where are the holdings? Where is the tightness? Don't rush past them. As you find something that's uncomfortable, just pause and imagine you could breathe into that space. You just give it time. So often our habit is to run away or close away or turn away from what's uncomfortable. And yet our capacity to transform it really relies on us turning toward. Not always an easy thing to do. But we practice with this type of work. We practice. Just feeling and noticing. Maybe you could move the toes, top of the foot, feeling into it. You go in circles, one direction and the other direction. Perfect, perfect. Now, let's keep the leg up there. Take the arms down and wide, just on the floor. And then that left leg, we're going to tilt it over to the right. We're going to let it tilt over toward the right. So we're kind of rolling toward the outer edge of the right hip. I want you to keep the shoulders more or less on the floor. You might find one lifts a little, but more or less heavy. Now, whatever you meet as you get to wherever you get to, and it doesn't matter where the leg gets to, I want you to breathe into what you're meeting. This is such a gift for us to meet these places in our bodies. Breathe into what you're meeting. Okay, can we take the right hand on the front of that left thigh, front of the thigh, close to the hip end of it, so close to the top of the thigh, with the heel of the hand kind of nestled into the groin, so you can push the front of the left thigh away from you, like you're just tilting the outer left hip away. And at the same time, can that left foot slide a little closer towards your right shoulder, that end of your mat? Now breathe into what you're meeting. Breathe 5. Breathe 4. 3. 2. And then release your hand. Take your arm back up to the sky and release it all the way down. All the way down. So the 2 feet are on the floor, and then let the whole body relax. Notice the difference in the feeling again. Okay, so we're going to hold the back of the right leg with 2 hands, interlace the fingers. Again, remember, we're trying not to flatten the back. So even here, before you take the foot up, is it possible to press the bum down a little? Take the leg up toward the sky. Again, get into just moving a little through the foot, through the toes, just to be curious as to what's there. Be curious. So often we'll meet these contracted places and, we give ourselves a hard time. We want it to be something else. Just meet and breathe and notice. Feel. Stay with it. No rush. Breathe. Okay, we're going to keep the leg up. We're going to take the arms wide, and we bring the right leg over toward the left. And again, it might be enough. No matter where you get to, you might take the leg over an inch or a foot or 2 feet. Breathe into what you're meeting. Wherever the challenge is in the body, breathe into it. Take your time. Left hand in the front of the right thigh. So you're pressing the top of the thigh away and possibly sliding the foot in the opposite direction up toward the shoulder. Just looking for a resistance, an effort you can sustain. Keep breathing, long, steady breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll bring the leg back up, release the arms down, and then we release 2 legs to the floor. And again, just bring the attention, just bring it back to the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Now, could you imagine you had nostrils at the center of your chest? And that's where you're breathing through. Slow, deep breath. breathing through the center of your chest. And every time you take an inhalation, you breathe in a lightness. And every time you exhale, you breathe out an old stuckness. You breathe out an ickiness. You breathe out something you're ready to let go of. And you're in this slow process of breathing in the light and breathing out the darkness. And you can watch in your mind's eye the inside slowly beginning to illuminate. Watching light moving through the torso, the hips and the shoulders, to the thighs, down the legs, slowly filling you up. And take your time, stay with it as best you can. When you feel like your whole inner form is filled with that light, I want you to breathe in the light and breathe it out. So you begin to illuminate the space above you. And then I want you to breathe not only through the center of the chest, but could you breathe through every single pore? Every pore breathes in the light, and every pore exhales the light. And you're watching not only the internal space, but the space all around you beginning to illuminate. And as you continue to breathe, that illumination becomes wider and wider and wider. And at any point you feel like it, let the image dissolve. And just stay with the breath. Stay close to your breath. So without moving, let the attention come back to your breath. Just notice your breath. Notice your inhalation and your exhalation. As we did near the beginning of our practice, just notice how you're doing. What's happening internally? What's moving through you? Has it shifted? Has it changed at all? Then begin to take some deeper breaths. Then begin to move a little. And move in whatever way your body wants you to. You might move slowly and simply. Maybe you want to stretch. And when you're ready, bend the knees, roll over to the side, and get comfortable on your side. So there's this idea that our practice, and this certainly is true for me, and maybe it's not true for everybody, but some of you will resonate with this, that our practice is in a sense a prayer. It's a form of prayer. And just a few lines of what John O'Donoghue says about prayer. To pray is to develop and refine the light of your life. To pray is to refine and develop the light of your life. It soothes the coarseness in your vision. Soothes the coarseness in your vision. It brings you closer to the homeland of your heart. Brings you closer to the homeland of your heart. Some of you will feel that now in your stillness. How our practice, as we bring thought and breath and body together, as we look for ways of balancing and aligning all these fragmented parts of ourselves, that it brings us closer to the homeland of our heart. And then take your time and bring yourself to sitting. Bring yourself up to sit. Get comfortable in your seat. Notice your breath again. Feel into the foundation, like shake into the foundation, anchor into that space. Take a few deeper breaths. We get to work into all of that stuff we've already opened up. All of that stuff we've worked with. That'll allow, the tissue is expanded, the bones are separate, there's more space. Sympathetic protection beginning to soften. Close the eyes. The sound Om. Just do it 3 times. Take a deep breath. And 3 more. And 3 final times. hands together in front of the heart, front of that center of space, the place, the very center of our being. Notice that space again. And we ask that our practice this morning support each of us in dropping into this space. May we open to the gift of this space. May we feel this space more fully. May we learn how to stay in this space, to stay open in this space, even when it becomes challenging. And then when it does close, may we forgive ourselves. May we allow ourselves to be where we are, even as we grow and move forward. And we take our hands then up to touch the forehead and just in front of the lips, and then back to the heart. And then to ourselves and to each other for sharing our practice, for coming together. And again, just to say that even though we might be in physically different places, we are together. To all of this we bow. Namaste. Good work, good work. So thank you very much for joining today. And I hope you have a great day. And if any of you need to pay, you can do that through Instagram or through my website. The website is the easiest probably way. And there's a month of meditation coming up for September that's beginning to fill up. So you can also find testimonials to that and links to that on my website. And we did it in June and it was great. It was a great experience, I think, for all of us who did it. So 30 meditations each day over September for those who want to go a little bit deeper. And see you either next Wednesday or next Sunday. All right, take care. Bye.